Hello folks, Alex Ferranti here. Finally here with a sort of a discussion and or update video finally. I haven't been doing a lot of discussion videos lately, mainly due to the fact that I've been hella balls to the wall busy as fucking hell with a lot of college shit, not to mention it's been tearing my brain apart these last couple of weeks and even months lately. Because my anxiety has been kind of breaking me down a lot, hour by hour, based on my college experience. I just hope for the best of myself for the future to come and all that stuff. And as you can see, I've been mainly posting exclusively Call of Duty videos as a way of trying to escape the frustrations of all that college work that has been kicking my ass a ton lately. So sorry for the lack of variety in my content lately. I hope this kind of makes up for the lack of content that's been hemorrhaging on my YouTube channel lately. So let's do something new for a change this October, where I give my opinion on every single solitary driver. I know a lot of people are going to say that I'm copying Levi McIntyre or Kamikaze Games. Unless you have evidence of me literally converting their video to my hard drive and then re-uploading it on my channel, you have no right to say that I'm copying. Okay? Okay. Is that clear? Is that crystal clear? Comprendo? Good. Glad you understand. So no more of the pathetic accusations that I'm copying anyone. Besides, these are my own opinions, so this is not a ripoff if I have differing opinion on almost every driver, even though I share my least favorite driver with Levi McIntyre, but this is still my own thing nonetheless. Alright, first driver, Jeffrey Earnhardt. And don't really have much to say about Jeffrey Earnhardt, considering he does nothing more than trash his cars week in and week out. It's unfortunately not going to be so long until the Earnhardt name is known because of Jeffrey Earnhardt trashing his cars weekly, almost to the same degree as Danica Patrick. Hey, that's all I gotta say. There's really nothing more interesting about him so far. Jamie McMurray. Absolute full of serenity. I absolutely love the guy. It's unfortunate he didn't have many wins under his belt, considering his passion for racing and how much of a fucking nice guy he really is. He's almost free of trouble from every driver. He is the most chill dude you'll ever find on the track. I mean, goddamn, is he a nice guy. It's just unfortunate that he won't be racing full-time next year. I'm not sure if he will race a few races here and there. I didn't dig too much into it, unfortunately, but nonetheless, I do hope for the very best of Jamie McMurray, and it just sucks that he has to end his full-time career quite like that. I really think he deserved much better than this, because he's one very humble dude. He undeservingly missed the chase a ton of times, especially 2004 when he had 23 top 10s. And 3 wins, which is a big breakout for him, for a driver like Jamie McMurray in 2010. And yet still missed the chase. He did make the chase a couple of times, last year included, and made the next couple of rounds a lot of times, but unfortunately he still didn't manage to get many wins, or any wins at all, at least as of 2013 Talladega. Moving on to Brad Keselwski. Originally, I did hate him a lot in 2010, and then eventually 2013 and 2014, mostly because of how much of a punk-ass prick he was, especially during the Carl Edwards feud, not just towards Carl Edwards, but also with Denny Hamlin, and I don't even like Denny Hamlin at all. But we're going to talk about Denny Hamlin later in the video, don't you worry. But hey, For a while, I hated Brad Keselowski with a passion, especially after that Jeff Gordon incident at Texas in 2014. But the more I looked at it, that was kind of Jeff Gordon's fault for driving down into Brad when he went for the hole. I mean, if you don't go for the hole, you're not really a race car driver. Well, actually, I really can't use that Ayrton Senna quote, considering that's an open wheel racing environment, not stock car. But hey, I've been mostly neutral with Brad Keselowski. I'm not exactly a big fan of his, but I do tolerate him when he wins. I'm not a fan of his, but I also do not despise him at all. He's mostly in the gray area for me, so let's just say if I saw him win in person, I would be just fine with that. Better him than a lot of drivers I'm about to talk about later in this video. Oh, don't you worry. But good for him for winning a big collection of big wins, such as the Southern 500 this year and Brickyard 400 this year. Good for him. He didn't have many of those wins up until now. He had a lot of He did have a lot of wins under his belt, but they weren't big prestige wins like Coca-Cola 600, Brickyard 400. Did I say Coca-Cola 600? Oh yeah, Southern 500, Daytona 500, and so on. Alright, moving on. Oh boy, I bet you guys skipped to this one. Austin Dillon. Ugh, I feel nauseous as hell talking about that talentless hack. He is, bottom line, the worst driver in NASCAR, really in racing history ever. That piece of shit had that ride served to him on a silver fucking platter. He is not humble. He is not a champion. He's a fucking punk. He drives like a fucking middle school punk that drives and races in iRacing, that thinks wrecking people is how he's gonna rack up all those wins and prestiges. Of course, he can only win whenever a legend with a big resume like Jimmie Johnson runs out of fuel with 2 laps to go, or blatantly dumping someone superior to him, actually building a career for himself like some cowardly fucking punk-ass prick. And if I hear someone say people only like Chase Elliott because of his daddy being Elliott, same thing for Ryan Blaney, oh, bullshit! Before you scream black at the kettle, don't you say that Austin Dillon's your favorite driver, you fucking hypocrite. Austin Dillon is arguably one of the worst drivers ever. Sorry, but him driving the 3 car that a legend like Dale Earnhardt Sr. used to drive, it don't mean jack shit to me whatsoever. In fact, he doesn't deserve that ride at all. He should be somewhere lower than starting park. He shouldn't even be racing, based on how much of a piece of shit talentless hack he is. To compare him to Dale Earnhardt Sr. is absolutely sickening. If you think about it, at least Dale Earnhardt Sr. didn't dump Jeff Gordon in 1999 to get his second Daytona 500 win, even though he didn't end up winning that race, Dale Earnhardt Sr. that is. And Dale Earnhardt Sr. didn't need to dump anyone in 1998 to win his Daytona 500, so that comparison, utter horseshit. One of the worst finishes I have ever seen in my whole entire life of watching NASCAR. It even ties with 2015 Talladega fall race. Yes, it's that bad. The race itself was good, but the finish was trash. Anyways, not gonna ramble on, so on to Kevin Harvick. Tons of people hate this guy. He's honestly one of my top 6 favorites currently, but not top 6 of all time, more like top 15 of all time. He was higher on the list, but unfortunately I kind of put him down a little more based on his sheer stupidity at Talladega in the fall race, as I mentioned earlier. Not the incident, but how bad the Talladega finish was, when he stayed out with a dying motor and then wrecked half the field, thus eliminating Dale Earnhardt Jr. from the next round. when he deserved to be in the next round. His season was pretty damn awesome, Dale Earnhardt Jr. that is, but I'm getting off track. I know a lot of people think Kevin Harvick's the biggest asshole, but if you compare him to other drivers like Austin Dillon and Kyle Busch, he's almost a complete angel. I can name like 50 worse things that Austin and Kyle have done that make Kevin Harvick's actions look so piddly and trivial and inconsequential. I'm not trying to make his incident at Talladega Fall Race look less innocent. I'm just saying that what Harvick did and lately at Darlington with who was it that drove the 42 car? Roz Chastain or something? But whatever. The point is, I like him a lot, but I can understand why people don't like him. So, Harvick, one of my favorites, but understood why he is very controversial. Trevor Bayne. Don't really have a whole lot to say about Trevor Bayne, unfortunately, other than the fact that I thought he had huge potential after his Daytona 500 win in 2011, but unfortunately, he hasn't really done much since 2011. His win in the Daytona 500 and win at Texas in the Nationwide Series race, which is also one of the same races that Kyle Busch got suspended from. He hasn't really done much since then, other than trash his cars, unfortunately. He seems like a chill guy, it's just unfortunately he hasn't done much in the 6th car. Next, Chase Elliott, my boy. Fucking love the guy. He's a badass. As soon as I saw him racing in the ARCA series, winning that Pocono race, I knew immediately that he was going to be my favorite driver once Jeff Gordon retired. I instantly knew I was going to love this guy. A lot of people keep saying that he's a punk based on his actions towards Ty Dillon, but ironically, those come from the same people praising Chase Elliott for wrecking that spoon-fed driver. Well, which one is it? Every time we bring up Martinsville, it's always, oh, but Chase Elliott's the same shit. Fuck off. You condoned what he did to Ty Dillon, now suddenly what he did was the worst thing ever? Make up your minds. But hey, I was very heartbroken when Chase Elliott kept choking over and over and over and over again. All those races that he deserved more than Kyle Busch, might I add. Thanks to lapped cars, thanks to Denny Hamlin being a jackass, thanks to many different other variables that fucked him over. But hey, he at least proved himself greatly with those three wins. One at Watkins Glen, one at Dover, and one at Kansas. He's a really cool guy. You never see him do anything stupid. You never see him say anything unfathomably stupid at all. He's a really nice guy, just like Jamie McMurray. One of the classiest guys in NASCAR history. Name me one thing that Chase Elliott has said that set you off, because the hate for him is not justified whatsoever. Sorry, but just because he's supposedly overrated, it doesn't make him any less likable. Besides, the term overrated is way overused this day. Shut up, phone! Sorry, David, I can't talk right now. I'll be back in a few minutes. But hey, yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot of years with Chase Elliott. His career is gonna be awesome. I can see the future is very bright for Chase Elliott. He has a lot of wins waiting for him. He's got a play date with destiny. I can tell you that. He has a huge collection of trophies awaiting him in the future, let alone championship trophies. And I hope one day I see him win in person. It's a bit of a far-fetched hope, but I still can hold on to that kind of hope. He was pretty damn good at Phoenix when I went there in 2017, and the fall race in 2017 as well, so maybe, just maybe, next year he might have that same chance. After all, I think he finished 3rd this year at Phoenix. Anyways, on to Aric Almirola. He's a pretty good guy. A class act. Despite Austin Dillon's sheer stupidity after the Daytona 500, he handled his atrocity of driving pretty damn well. Glad to see that Aric Almirola made a comeback by winning Talladega this year, too. The race was pretty fucking terrible, but at least the finish was great. That Talladega race was pretty much the polar opposite of Daytona. Shit race, good finish. Daytona 500 was great racing, shit finish. So yeah, I'm glad he's getting places with that 10 car. He's certainly better than Danica Patrick. It only took Aric Almirola, 11 races to get top 10s, whereas it took 5 years for Danica Patrick to get 7 top 10s. It only took Aric Almirola less than a year to get a win with that 10 car too. So yeah, Danica apologists, I think you guys need to shut up now. I don't hate Danica Patrick, but the apologism kind of needs to stop. Oh god, I think a lot of you guys skipped to this one as well. Oh boy, Denny Hamlin. You know, I didn't even hate Denny Hamlin all that much prior to 2017. I didn't even hate him at all. I don't remember hating him one bit. But until 2017, his jackassery really started showing. Well, actually, 2016 Martinsville, when his inferiority complex was really showing towards Jimmie Johnson. I'm going to quote Levi McIntyre, but strike one was when he had that illegal win at Michigan in 2017. Whether his car was illegal or not, he still didn't deserve that win. Even if that car wasn't illegal, he still didn't deserve that win. He shouldn't be racing in the Xfinity Series whatsoever. He does not belong there because he has too many years in Cup to be even considered driving in the Xfinity Series. Strike number 2 is when he blatantly wrecked Martin Truex Jr. like an idiot at Richmond, but that didn't bother me too much back then. Strike 3, well, 2017 Martinsville is pretty self-explanatory, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, this just racing, Dylan, aren't the same shit. Fuck off already with that trash. The apologism is fucking stupid. Knock it off. Blatantly dumping someone like a child is not fucking racing. And let me just add, if you hate Chase Elliott, you have no right to approve of what Denny did at Martinsville, and then criticize Chase Elliott for being a dirty driver at Phoenix. But hey, my negativity lately has been calming down towards Denny Hamlin, though my disliking of him is still kind of there, because based on him blatantly wrecking Michael McDowell at the Charlotte Roval race. So that's my take on Denny Hamlin. Sorry it seemed short, but I should really calm down about Denny Hamlin lately, as he hasn't been doing too much to piss me off lately. Next is Ryan Blaney. I've liked him since first half of 2017. The first time I realized I started liking Ryan Blaney a lot is when he got his picture taken with, drumroll, Daisy Ridley, the actor of Rey from Star Wars The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. And when I saw that on Facebook, I'm like, wow, Ryan Blaney, you lucky son of a bitch. And then I saw a video of Ryan Blaney hilariously spoiling all 7 Star Wars films. That was before The Last Jedi was released, by the way, so I said 7. I thought that was pretty hilarious, and the fact that Ryan Blaney won in a shit-tire car at Pocono, I was extremely impressed, thus becoming a fan of his, and I even bought his gear at New Hampshire in 2017. And from what I've heard, he's into a decent amount of metal music. So far, it's Parkway Drive, I believe, that he's a fan of. I'm not sure what other metal music he's a fan of, but he does seem like a badass dude. But Granted, he did luck into his win at the Charlotte Roval, but what's there to say that he wouldn't even have a chance when in the top 3 at the Charlotte Roval? Not to mention there was plenty of other wins he contended for. Oh, God. I'm sure a lot of you people jumped to this. Ty Dillon. Ugh. His skin makes the protective layers of the exosphere look very thick. His thin skin, even makes Donald Trump's skin look thick. Okay, I won't go that far. That fucking child really should leave Kamikaze Games the fuck alone. Is he really gonna act like an internet tough guy? Thinking that Kamikaze Games is the coward when he's the one that disabled his fucking digital replies on Twitter? He should check himself before he screams black at the kettle. If you guys want more on that, you can go check Kamikaze Games' video out. But other than that, Ty, you do not deserve the 13. Casey Mears was building his way up to make that team, to make that car one of the best cars in the top 20 field. Pretty much contending for a top 20 week in and week out, both for qualifying and racing. And then after he works hard for all that shit, he gets kicked for the curb for a spoon-fed piece of shit like you. But hey, whenever you wreck, it's not a surprise, because no one should act like it's out of the ordinary when a piece of shit like you wrecks. You really have thin skin. If you encounter Kamikaze Games at Phoenix, good luck dealing with all that roasting from him. Anyways, on to Clint Bowyer. I think he's gotten better over the years. I was pretty happy for him when he won at Martinsville and Michigan. He is a pretty damn funny dude, too. For a while, I fucking hated him back in 2013 to 2014 when he kept wrecking himself, thus screwing Jeff Gordon out of race wins, not to mention the chase initially. But justice was served, luckily, for what should have been Clint Bowyer, but instead it was Martin Truex Jr. that did nothing. But we're going to talk about Martin Truex Jr. later, about his comeback of the decade, pretty much. But hey, either way, I'm glad Clint Bowyer's going somewhere with Stewart-Haas Racing. He's been having the comeback of his life lately. Hell, his losing streak was even longer than Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s from 2008 to 2012. That's how long he was losing for. Great to see him finally break through, so yeah. On to Ricky Wreckhouse Jr. Oh boy. Danica's ex-boyfriend. He's a horrible racer. Enough said. He caused, like, 50 grand worth of damage to a lot of stock cars based on him racing like it's the final fucking lap. Good God, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., pull your head out of where your rectum is. You even caused a wreck where you made Jimmie Johnson get out in the 500 based on your sheer stupidity. You wrecked a lot of good race cars at the Daytona race I was at, including Kyle Busch. I mean, I fucking hate Kyle Busch with a passion. We'll talk more about him later in the video, don't you worry. He's next. But hey, you wrecked Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, wait, not Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselwski, Kurt Busch, who even called your ass out, and so much more. You're worthless. I used to have respect for you last year, but based on you driving like a punk, you lost my respect. You lost it. Which is why I'm going to call you Ricky Wreckhouse Jr. or Ricky Shitstain Jr. based on the 5 wrecks you caused at that nighttime Daytona race. And the Daytona 500, thus screwing almost half over half the field out of a possible win. But at least I got to see Erik Jones get his first win. Oh my god. Fuck me. Kyle Busch. I'm sure all of you skipped to this one. Do I have to talk about Kyle Busch, my least favorite behind Austin Dillon? Okay, I will. Keep it short and simple. Yes, he's a good driver. No, he's not a nice guy. Mostly on the track. He is the biggest asshole in racing history. There are so many shit I could recap of why he's a fucking prick, but I'll keep it short and simple by saying he whinges like a fucking child for finishing podium in the lower series races. Lower series races where he does not belong. He should not be leeching off those rookies, making a name for himself. You do not belong there anyway, Kyle Busch. Just hire someone to drive your fucking truck, you crybaby piece of shit. All he does is pull wins straight out of his rectum. Over half of his wins were spoon-fed wins. Mostly based on Truex Jr. getting some kind of ridiculous tire violation that didn't exist in the rule book. And I'm so fucking tired of people saying, "Oh, he did some good for that kid at Richmond. That means he's not a bad guy anymore." Oh, bullshit. It don't mean jack shit to me when he continues to be an asshole on the track over and over again, like he's always been, week in and week out. I used to like him a lot back in 2005. I thought he would be something wicked cool, and I thought the fact that he had the same paint scheme as Jimmie Johnson was pretty surreal. I just thought, hey, maybe this guy can be Jimmie Johnson's wingman. That's pretty damn awesome. But no, his bullshit attitude deteriorated year after year, especially 2011, where the bullshit within his fucking douchebaggery really radiated. And no, Kyle Busch, you do not deserve that championship. You never deserve that championship, and you never will deserve that championship. You've always been an asshole. You always will be an asshole. I'm never thrilled whenever I see that piece of shit win. Especially the New Hampshire fall race. That was the worst race I ever watched in my entire life. So yeah, Kyle Busch, biggest douchebag in NASCAR history, but is a Hall of Famer, at least, so I'll give him that. He at least has talent compared to Austin Dillon. I'll at least give him this. He's not too malicious or terrible off the track, but that doesn't really say much. Anyways, Daniel Suarez. I don't have a whole lot to say about Daniel Suarez other than the fact that it's cool that he's the first international driver to win a championship in any NASCAR National Series. And that it kind of sucks that he won't be at Joe Gibbs Racing next year, but at least I hope he goes somewhere with Leavine Racing. I hope his path will be similar to Truex Jr.'s, where he leaves a big funded team, but then goes somewhere and makes a big name for low-funded teams, which, though unfortunately for Furniture Row's case, they're shutting down operations after this year, so my hope for a path like that seems a bit too much of a stretch. So, good luck to Daniel Suarez. Erik Jones. He doesn't seem too bad to me. I'm not a big fan of his, but I was pretty thrilled when I saw him win for the first time in his career at Daytona this year. I was pretty disappointed he lost to the biggest douchebag in NASCAR history at Bristol, but at least Daytona's a big makeup for it. So, that's something to be thrilled about, at least. Not a big fan of his, but at least I got to see him obtain his first ever career win. He's sane compared to Kyle Busch. Paul Menard. Not too much to say other than the fact that he's just one of those drivers that seems to find himself in the top 10 and top 5 a lot, but then ends up getting the worst finishes ever, thus having the reputation of a below-average driver. Based on him making a chase in 2014 and the fact that he's making at least some okay finishes this year with Penske equipment, he doesn't seem as bad of a driver as people originally thought he would, or at least slow driver as people thought he was. But he hasn't really struck my interest in him at all, because he has a lot of robotic reactions to a lot of things. Joey Logano, another punk-ass prick in NASCAR. He was spoon-fed his ride at Joe Gibbs Racing. He drives like a complete punk. Well, actually, he gets a lot of wins served to him on a silver platter when a lot of drivers deserve that way more than him. Kyle Larson at Richmond 2017, even though Larson made up for it the following Richmond race. Dale Earnhardt Jr., the fall race at Talladega. Kenseth at Kansas. Chase Elliott at Michigan. Clean Air was the winner of that race, might I add. Alex Bowman at Phoenix in 2016. I bet we all remember that travesty. Brian Scott didn't even try at the 2016 fall Talladega race. Harvick running out of fuel at Watkins Glen. And I could go on and on and on and on and on, but I don't want to drag this video any further than I already am. So Joey Logano as well has been acting like a bit of an arrogant punk on the track lately, so that's pretty much all there is to it. Next, we've got William Byron. He's kind of overhyped and was rushed horrendously to Cup with his piss-poor statistics of him so far not having any top 5s kind of speak for itself. The fact that he won the Xfinity Series title, which he didn't necessarily deserve, that was Elliott Sadler's title, might I add, is kind of self-explanatory. Sorry, but just because he's at one of my favorite teams, Hendrick Motorsports, it doesn't make me necessarily like him. So William Byron kind of has a lot to prove himself as a person and driver, so that's pretty much all I got to say about him. Him driving the same number as Jeff Gordon doesn't really make up anything. I'm in the gray area with him, but at the same time, he's kind of ridiculously overhyped. I normally don't like to use overrated as a argument against against drivers or why I don't like drivers, but William Byron kind of has it on a new level. But I don't dislike Byron at all. Ryan Newman. He's kind of just an average driver at best these days. He doesn't really have much to prove on the field these days other than his win at 2017 Phoenix, even though I was kind of thrilled to see him win. It was definitely more thrilling than any win I would see Kyle Busch pull out of his ass. Ryan Newman, he doesn't seem bad as a person. It's just that he hasn't really done much for the 31. I don't exactly like him or hate him. It was fun seeing him win at Phoenix in 2017. He's just one of those drivers I am not a huge fan of. He especially did not deserve to be in the Final Four in 2014. Do I have to go into that again? Do I really have to? Do I necessarily have to go through that shit again? He did no shit all year long in 2014, and suddenly he's relevant to the Final Four. That makes 0 sense. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about that a whole lot, as I already did in many, many NASCAR rants of mine in the past. So, moving on. Matt DiBenedetto. fortunate that he's not returning in NASCAR, because I thought if you were put in a higher tire car, he would have had a decent amount of finishes. Quite like Alex Bowman, might I add, where Alex Bowman was taking his car from a complete dog shit team, dog shit car, dog shit equipment, Dr. Pepper Racing, I think it was, or was it Burger King Racing? I don't remember the team. I don't remember at all. All I knew was that Alex Bowman was driving the 23 car for Dr. Pepper as his main sponsor and Toyota as his manufacturer in 2014. And then suddenly he starts to prove himself in the Hendrick Motorsports 88 car, especially when he had the 2016 Phoenix Race 1, until you know what happened. He or Matt Kenseth in the 2016 Phoenix race. And then bullshit happened. Kyle Busch, second to last restart, tries to pull a ridiculous move, thus shoving Alex Bowman straight into his own teammate, Kyle Busch's teammate that is, Matt Kenseth, thus destroying his chances of making the Final Four. And then guess who won? No, it wasn't Kyle Busch, but Joey Logano, the king of pulling wins straight out of his rectum. God damn it. Anyways, I'm getting off track, so. Michael McDowell also seems like a pretty good guy. It was really fun seeing him lead a lot of laps at Daytona. Every time he's up front at those restrictor plate races, I keep thinking, oh, look at that! Michael McDowell may finally win a race. Or if he has gotten a few top 5s and top 10s here and there in his career, but he has yet to win a race when he leads laps all the time. And then, of course, suddenly he wrecks violently at the Daytona race I was at this year. Of course. What else would happen? And what else is new? The underfunded drivers are trying to make names for themselves, leading a lot of laps, and then suddenly the big one bites them in the ass. There hasn't been a single underfunded driver that won at these restrictor plate races since 2013 Talladega in the spring race, with David Reagan as the 34. I thought I was going to see a surprising underfunded driver win a race at Daytona, but nope. But at least I saw a first-time winner, that is Erik Jones, so not too a big deal catcher for me. Chris Buescher, 37. Unfortunately, don't really have much to say about him other than the fact that he could really find himself in the top 10 and top 5 a lot at the restrictor plate races, and kind of wish it was him that won rather than Austin Dillon, or Bubba Wallace, that is. We'll talk about Bubba Wallace in a few, don't worry. And the fact that he expanded GT Daughtry Racing to a two-car team, so there you go. Next is David Reagan. It was badass that I saw him win in person at Daytona in 2011, and I think his win in 2013 Talladega in the spring race was a much bigger win than his win in 2011 when he was with Roush, because with his win with that underfunded team owned by Bob Jenkins, he is really raising a lot of money for Front Row Racing to become a much more big funded team. Unfortunately, they are still a pretty low funded team, but at least that win, that first and second finish at Talladega in the spring race, got them a lot of money. If they could somehow find a way to keep consistently finishing like that at restrictor plate races, and eventually 12th place finishes, like what David Reagan had at the 2013 Bristol race, then they probably won't be so low funded anymore in the future. Kurt Busch. I actually like Kurt Busch. He's a pretty cool guy. I hear him a lot. I hear his music choice a lot on Ozzy's Boneyard. He likes a lot of heavy metal like I do, and I thought it was pretty badass that he chose Balls to the Wall by Accept as his music choice, along with Kevin Harvick choosing won by Metallica on Ozzy's Boneyard, which is kind of why I give Kevin Harvick a pass on his so-called douchebaggery. Because I find it cool that there are some metalhead NASCAR drivers. So yeah, there you go. And Kurt Busch only had an attitude problem of his, yelling at his crew all the time. Whenever his tires are worn, his fuel is just short of a few laps, mechanical problems, Jimmie Johnson getting in feuds with him, and all that stuff. That was just based on his attitude problems. Well, thank goodness he and Jimmie Johnson got over the shit that they were yelling at each other on a constant basis, ranging from Jimmie Johnson dumping him at Sonoma in 2009 for whatever reason, Kurt and Jimmie rubbing and racing at Chicagoland, and then Kurt Busch shit-talking Jimmie Johnson by saying, "I would rather lose to any other 41 cars than this 48 car." And then Jimmie Johnson, of course, admittedly, he was being a jackass to Kurt Busch at the 2010 Pocono race. I was at that race, by the way. And then, of course, Jimmie Johnson kind of being a hypocrite towards Kurt Busch. When Jimmie Johnson races people decently hard all the time, but then yells at Kurt Busch when Kurt Busch did it. I love Jimmie Johnson to Pluto and back, but I didn't really exactly approve of Jimmie Johnson calling out Kurt Busch at that time. And Kurt Busch didn't necessarily wreck Jimmie Johnson at Richmond in 2011. His brakes locked up. But anyways, on to today. I'm glad Kurt Busch has been making a name for himself at Stewart-Haas Racing. For a while in 2012, when he was fired from Penske after the 2011 season, it seemed like he wouldn't see the light of another win again when he was with Phoenix Racing, and then with Furniture Row, when he really proved himself with Furniture Row by making the chase. Granted, he did in 2013, Charlotte, say that he is tired of all the Jimmie Johnson charity race, but that kind of did piss me off. But he did mature over time and got rid of his attitude problems. He still gets angry from time to time, but it's not necessarily an attitude problem. In fact, whatever bad qualities Kurt Busch has is better than Kyle Busch for sure. Kurt Busch is the only Busch I am ever thrilled to see win these days. Unfortunately, the only time I ever saw Kurt Busch win in the Cup Series was 2004 Loudon. If only Kurt was the Busch brother winning all the time, and not Kyle Busch, because Kurt Busch is not a douchebag. Kurt Busch is cool, not Kyle Busch. God damn it, why does it always have to be the wrong guy? Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson had a slow start in 2014 and 2015. Not having a lot of wins. I at first thought he was kind of a punk based on his driving style at the Battle of the Beach when he dumped someone for the win. But he really started to prove himself surprisingly at Michigan in 2016. And then really broke out with 4 wins in 2017. Thus proving himself to have the talent a NASCAR driver needs. In fact, I think he's the most talented young gun in modern-day NASCAR. He and Chase Elliott are the most talented drivers in the NASCAR field, at least in terms of young blood. When I say young blood, I meant younger than 30. Larson will be 30 in 2022, but I just hope, unfortunately, Kyle Larson always tends to have the shittest luck ever, such as 4 DNFs in a row in 2017, thus getting eliminated from the second to last round at Kansas when he blew up at Kansas, and then his elimination after Kansas this year. One day, I do believe that he'll have the potential to win the championship. He does have that talent. He does have that potential. He does have that passion. He does have everything it takes to be a NASCAR champion. He just has the shittest luck ever. Both he and Chase Elliott, even though Chase Elliott has been going out with a bang with all those wins. Really proven himself to be quite the talented guy. Even if Chase still didn't have wins as of today, he's still a talented guy. Anyways, I'm getting off track. I mean, Chase Elliott did finish 10th in 2016 with 10 top 5s and 17 top 10s. 2016 with 10 top 5s and 20 top 10s. Thus finishing 5th, and I don't remember the count for this year, but either way, Kyle Larson, good guy, talented driver, everything. He's everything that a NASCAR champion should represent. So moving on. Darrell Wallace Jr. I believe is one of the only African-American drivers. Unfortunately, I don't really have too much to say about Darrell Wallace Jr. other than the fact that he does have a decent amount of potential based on his second place finish and the fact that he finished 13th with a massively wounded car at Daytona, and the fact that he can even take hard hits like what he had at Pocono without even a single bruise on his body. So unfortunately, I didn't pay attention enough to him to have a big secular opinion about him. So we're gonna move on to AJ Allmendinger. It sucks AJ Allmendinger won't be coming back this season. The next season, I meant. But I like his perseverance. After he failed the drug test in 2012, he came back in 2013 for JTG Daughtry Racing. And then, what do you know, in 2014, he had enough perseverance to win at Watkins Glen. He thought he was down on his luck after he failed the drug test and was banned from NASCAR. But then, 2 years later, he finds the light of a career win. At least a NASCAR career win. But you know what? If anything, he deserves to be in that 22 way more than Joey Logano. Or Sam Hornish Jr. also deserves him to be in that 22 car. What about Justin Allgaier? Doesn't he have like wins this year? Isn't he like the championship? Isn't he like championship contender every year? Why isn't he in the 22 car? Put him in the 22 car, not this punk-ass prick Joey Logano. Joey Logano has done nothing to deserve to be in that 22 car. He's an arrogant punk. Justin Allgaier should be in that 22 car. How come no one wants him? How come no one wants AJ Allmendinger? I mean, after all, AJ Allmendinger has proven himself to be great enough to win in a decently low-funded team at Watkins Glen. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I think it's self-explanatory when I talk about Jimmie Johnson. Jimmie Johnson, my childhood favorite driver. Been a big fan of his since April 2002. He's the reason why I smile. He's literally everything I love about NASCAR. I think my entire channel is pretty much dedicated to me loving Jimmie Johnson to the core. So, if you want me to have full details of why I fucking love Jimmie Johnson, go to my What I Like About Jimmie Johnson videos so you would know the full details. But hey, anyway, I would just like to say this. Just because Jimmie Johnson is having one bad year, it doesn't mean he should retire. Jeff Gordon had bad years in 2008 and 2010, and he eventually broke out with 3 wins, thus becoming third on NASCAR's all-time win list in 2011. Jeff Gordon was also down on his luck a lot of times in 2012, but he then made the chase. 2 wins even. Jeff Gordon also could have won the 2014 championship. So, one bad year doesn't mean jack shit. Not to mention, Jimmie Johnson is at 7 championships and has the eligibility to surpass Earnhardt and Petty. I know if I were in Jimmie Johnson's shoes, I would have the most daring perseverance to try and haul my ass to that 8th title. Whether the chase is bullshit or not. Whether the chase is bullshit or not, it's still an 8th championship he's going to win. And I would indeed go to Homestead to try and see it in person. Jimmie Johnson, he's been having the speed lately this year. Second half of this year, he's been doing it better, like a lot better. It's just something dumb as fuck tends to fuck him out of it. He indeed could have won Charlotte Roval. He even lately was contending for a win there. He almost could have won the Charlotte Roval. He could have played it nice with Truex. He could have played it safe and finished second, but no, he raced hard. He raced him hard to the extent of getting himself wrecked, thus getting himself eliminated. He could have played it safe and tried to progress to the next round, but no, he decided to try everything he can to tie Darrell Waltrip and Bobby Allison for 84 wins. Anyways, on to the next driver. Justin Marks. Nothing too much to say about him. Martin Truex Jr. Finally, we're talking about him. I've liked him since roughly 2004. But I wasn't like a big fan of his. I thought it was pretty cool that I saw him win in person in the 2005 Loudon Busch Series race. It was called Busch Series at the time. That was way before it was called the Xfinity Series. And then 2012, he was contending for a ton of wins. But of course, NASCAR being NASCAR likes to pull ridiculous cautions straight out of their ass, and a lot more undeserving winners keep happening over and over again. But luckily, Martin Truex Jr. Finally won a race at Sonoma in 2013. He got his car, 56 Napa Toyota, taken away from him, all because of a bullshit incident caused by Ty fucking Norris. Not entirely Clint Bowyer, but Ty Norris manipulating the outcome of the 2013 Richmond race, thus deteriorating Michael Waltrip Racing to eventually shutting down operations in was it 2015 they shut down? Because I know Martin Truex Jr. after the 2013 season lost his ride and then went to Furniture Row Racing, but Clint and Brian Vickers stayed for a while. Well, Brian Vickers unfortunately couldn't stay for long due to health issues, and then Clint Bowyer progressed to Stewart-Haas Racing in 2017. And then what do you know, Martin Truex Jr. proved himself surprisingly. In 2016, Exhibit A is when he got 22 top 10s in 2015 and won victory at Pocono that year in 2015. And even making it to the Final Four, might I add. 4 wins in 2016 is Exhibit B. And then, of course, the big daddy of them all, Exhibit C, when he won 8 races in a year. Normally, 5 to 6 races is the threshold for the quantity of wins for every driver. Every winner of every year. It's normally 5 to 6, but then now suddenly Martin Truex Jr. surpassed that threshold to 8. Ain't that cool? Winning in a decently low-funded team. But unfortunately, Furniture Row Racing is now shutting down operations despite being a championship team. How could you shut down operations after winning a championship? That just doesn't make any fucking sense. But hey, Martin Truex Jr., overall a great guy. 2 battles that both Sharon and Martin Truex Jr. won. Sharon won her battle with ovarian cancer, while Martin Truex Jr. won his championship battle in 2017. What are the odds? Both of them are badasses. Next, we've got Alex Bowman, which I was talking about earlier. For a while, he was driving a very shit tire car in 2014 and 2015, but until 2016, when Dale Earnhardt Jr. had that unfortunate concussion, Alex Bowman did decently amount of times prove himself surprisingly that he was capable of leading a decent amount of laps, specifically 2016 Phoenix, like I already mentioned earlier in the video. I do believe that Alex Bowman could eventually get his first career. It's just that Hendrick needs to stop giving these people shit equipment. And yes, they are shit-equipped vehicles. Hendrick has been becoming a fallen empire these last several years. Seriously, Jimmie Johnson alone had mechanical problems before the green flag even flew. That tells you something's going on with the Hendrick shop. But either way, I'm not a big fan of Alex Bowman. One of the things I love about him is, of course, he and I share a name. But hey, I do think he has the big potential to even contend for a championship someday, because he did lead a decent amount of laps at a non-restrictor plate track at none other than Phoenix, which is pretty much one of those tracks everyone thinks that it has a skill requirement there, unlike Talladega and Daytona, where any shit tire driver or shit tire team, shit tire car could win at, pretty much. But hey, Alex Bowman has a decent amount of potential under his belt, so good luck to him in the future. And now the last one is, oh boy, 95 of Kasey Kahne, also Regan Smith. Very unfortunate that Kasey Kahne will not be racing anymore, based on his dehydration issues. I was hoping that he would at least go out with a bang, but unfortunately, due to health issues, like Brian Vickers, he will not be finishing his racing career, the way he thought he would. He was also one of my childhood drivers in 2004 and 2005 and onwards. I wasn't, like, a massive fan of his, but I did like him a lot. I was, like, in fact, unfortunately, I was hilariously, in fact, upset that Jimmie Johnson couldn't catch Kasey Kahne both Charlotte races, because I knew Jimmie Johnson was the king of Charlotte there. Like, good God, was Jimmie Johnson super dominant at those tracks. But then, of course, Kasey Kahne just had to rain on Jimmie Johnson's parade. But Jimmie Johnson did finish second both those 2006 Charlotte races. But hey, looking back at that, I'm actually kind of glad Kasey Kahne won those races. It just really sucks that Kasey Kahne is arguably one of the most unfortunate drivers in NASCAR history now. And even before Kasey Kahne's deterioration in the mid-2010s, he had horrendous luck. Specifically 2004, when he should have won a lot of races. 2004 Dover, but of course NASCAR didn't clean the goddamn oil on the track. Rockingham, when he should have been fast enough to catch Matt Kenseth. Charlotte 2004, until of course Goodyear being Goodyear, even though my top two favorites finished first and second, Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Gordon, that is, so one door closes and the other opens. I could literally go on, but Kasey Kahne has just been arguably one of the most unfortunate drivers in NASCAR history, and it's really sucks that his career ended on a terrible note. But at least his last victory will be a big victory. Indianapolis, no less. The Brickyard 400. So Regan Smith. I honestly thought Regan Smith was going to drive the 24 car in the future once he progressed and prestiged from the Xfinity Series, but unfortunately, that didn't go exactly the way I wanted. I really did think Regan Smith had the potential to be arguably a built-up legend. based on his victory at the Southern 500, beating Carl Edwards in 2011 at Darlington. And his decent amount of success in the Xfinity Series with Junior Motorsports. Unfortunately, his future didn't go exactly the way I thought it would, but I just hope he's at least still... he will still have a racing job for years and years to come. It sucks it's not the exact way I wanted it, but hey, what can you do, I guess. Honestly, I think he kind of has more talent and potential under his belt than William Byron ever would dream of. So, there's that. Regan Smith arguably was one of my favorite drivers, and is one of my favorite drivers in the Xfinity Series, but unfortunately his future didn't exactly go the way I imagined it. Same with Justin Allgaier. Alright, that's it for the video of my opinion and take on every active driver in NASCAR as of 2018. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Space out.